Hey everyone, it's Miss Spencer. Today we're going to be adding and subtracting decimals. Today's objective is that students will be able to add and subtract decimals to the thousands place value. Let's start with 124 and 6 tenths plus 8 and 32 hundredths. The first thing we're going to do is write our problem vertically, which means one on top of the other, making sure that we line up our place values. Here, I'm going to use a place value chart to help us. I have here 124 and 6 tenths, and then 8 and 32 hundredths underneath. Notice that both the 4 in 124 and 6 tenths and the 8 are in the ones place, so they're one on top of the other. Another good way to find out if you've lined up your place values correctly is if the decimals line up. If they line up, then you know you've lined up your place values correctly. The second step is to place a 0 in all the blank place values. So here on our first number, there's a blank in the hundredths place, which means there's 0 hundredths. In the second number, there's 0 tens and 0 hundredths. Now, we can go ahead and start by adding the smallest place value. In this number, the hundredths is the smallest place value. So we're going to add 0 hundredths plus 2 hundredths, which is 2 hundredths, 6 tenths plus 3 tenths, which is 9 tenths. Don't forget your decimal point always needs to be to the left of the tenths place. Now, we're going to be adding the ones place. Remember that we need to regroup if necessary. 4 ones plus 8 ones is 12 ones. So the 2 is going in the ones place, and the 1 is carried over to the tens place. Here we have 2 tens plus 1 10 that we carried over is 3 tens, and 100 plus 0 hundredths is 100. Our answer is 132 and 92 hundredths. Now let's try by adding 58 and 52 thousandths plus 146. The first thing we're going to do is line up our problem vertically, which means one on top of the other, making sure to line up our place values. I'm going to use the place value chart again. I have 58 and 52 thousandths and 146. The 6 is in the ones place, which is right below the 8 in the ones place in our first number. Notice there is no decimal point here, but when there's no decimal point, remember it goes at the end of our number, just like if we were reading a sentence and there's a period at the end of our sentence. Now we're going to be placing a 0 in all the blank place values. So here, we're going to put a decimal point right after the ones place before the tenths place, and we're going to be putting 0 in the tenths, hundredths, and thousandths place in our second number. Now we're going to be adding the smallest place values first. Here, we have 2 thousandths plus 0 thousandths is 2 thousandths. 5 hundredths plus 0 hundredths is 5 hundredths. 0 tenths plus 0 tenths is 0 tenths. Remember, the decimal point always goes to the left of the tenths place. Now we're going to be adding the ones place. Remember to regroup if necessary. 8 ones plus 6 ones is 14 ones. The 4 goes into the ones place and the 1 is carried to the tens place. 5 tens plus 4 tens is 9 tens, plus the 1 10 that we carried over is 10 tens. The 0 goes in the tens place and the 1 is carried to the hundredths place. Here we have 100 plus 100 is 200. So our answer is 204 and 52 thousandths. Now let's try a subtraction problem. We have 39 and 48 hundredths minus 2 and 652 thousandths. Let's start by writing these numbers vertically. I'm going to use a place value chart to help. 39 and 48 hundredths and 2 and 652 thousandths. Then we're going to place a 0 in all the blank place values. So we have 0 thousandths in our first number and 0 tens in our second number. We're going to start by subtracting in our smallest place value. So that's going to be the thousandths place. Here, we have 0 thousandths minus 2 thousandths. We can't take 2 thousandths away from 0 thousandths. There's nothing there. So we need to regroup. We're going to regroup the 8 hundredths. We're going to regroup 1 thousandth. So we now have 7 hundredths left. And remember, we need 10 thousandths to make one more hundredth. So we're going to rewrite that 100th that we regrouped as 10 thousandths. 10 thousandths minus 2 thousandths is 8 thousandths. 7 hundredths minus 5 hundredths is 2 hundredths. Ooh, can't do 4 tenths minus 6 tenths. We can't take 6 tenths away from 4 tenths. So what we need to do is regroup from the 9 in the ones place. So we're going to regroup 1 1. So now we have 8 ones left. 10 tenths makes up 1 1. So we're going to rewrite that 1 1 that we borrowed as 10 tenths. But we already have 4 tenths there. So we're going to be adding 10 tenths to that 4 tenths we already had. We now have 14 tenths. 14 tenths minus 6 tenths is 8 tenths. Now we're going to put the decimal point, which always goes to the left of the tenths place. 8 ones minus 2 ones is 6 ones, and 3 tenths minus 0 tenths is 3 tenths. Our answer is 36 and 828 thousandths. All right, let's do one more problem. 43 minus 6 and 245 thousandths. We're going to start by writing these numbers vertically, which means one on top of the other. I'm going to use my place value chart. 43 ones and 6 and 245 thousandths. Notice the 3 and the 6 are both in the ones place, which is why there's one on top of the other. Now we're going to place a 0 in all the blank place values. In our first number, we have 0 in the tenths, hundredths, and thousandths, and notice that I put that decimal point between the ones and the tenths place. In our second number, we have a 0 in the tens place. Now we're going to start subtracting with the smallest place value. In this number, it's going to be in the thousandths place. Here, we are going to do 0 thousandths minus 5 thousandths. We can't take 5 thousandths away from nothing. So we need to regroup from the hundredths place, but there's 0 hundredths. So we're going to regroup from the tenths place, but there's 0 tenths. So we need to actually regroup all the way from the ones place because there's 3 ones. We're going to regroup 1 1. So when we regroup that 1 1, there's 2 ones left. And remember, 10 tenths makes up 1 1. So now we have 10 tenths. But we're going to rewrite these 10 tenths as hundredths. Remember, 10 hundredths makes up 1 tenth. But we have 10, we're going to borrow 1 tenth. So now we have 9 tenths left. And we have 10 hundredths. So now we need to rewrite these hundredths as thousandths. 10 tenths, 10 thousandths makes up 100th. So we're going to borrow 100th. Now we have 9 hundredths left. And we're going to rewrite that 100th that we regrouped as 10 thousandths. 10 thousandths minus 5 thousandths is 5 thousandths. 9 hundredths minus 4 hundredths is 5 hundredths. 9 tenths minus 2 tenths is 7 tenths. Don't forget that decimal point to the left of the tenths place. Now we have 2 ones minus 6 ones, but we can't take 6 ones away from 2 ones, so we're going to regroup from the tens place. Here we have 4 tens. We're going to regroup one of those tens, so we have 3 tens left. And now remember, we need 10 ones to make 1 10. So we're going to add 10 ones to the 2 ones we already have, so we now have 12 ones. 12 ones minus 6 ones is 6 ones. 3 tenths minus 0 tenths is 3 tenths. So our final answer is 36 and 755 thousandths.